Good afternoon to one and all present here. Myself Sukriti Ghanash. I am a student of chemistry second semester and this is my seminar topic, fingerprints. Fingerprints. Father of fingerprint is Sir Francis Galton. He is a British scientist who wrote his first book on fingerprint in year 1892. He classified fingerprints on the basis of arch, burn and loop. Impression present on fingertip are known as fingerprints. There are dark and light areas on our fingerprints which are known as ridges and valleys. Fingerprints are most versatile but fragile evidences. Anatomy of skin. Skin comprises of three layers: epidermis, dermis and hypodermis. Epidermis acts as a barrier layer which prevents water loss. Dermis is beneath the epidermis, which is a connective tissue which supports dermis. Then comes the hypodermis, which is a loose connective tissue containing pad of adipose cells, that is fat, which act as an energy reserve. Epidermis is the outermost layer on which ridges are present and we can see fingerprints on them. Principles of fingerprints examination. So मेरी स्लाइड यहाँ पे ऊपर नीचे करती हैं. Development of friction ridges. The hand development starts from the 5 to 6 weeks. First finger appeared from 6 to 7 weeks. The volar pads, these are the volar pads, appears on each finger about 7 to 8 weeks. Then the volar pads clearly visible up to 10 weeks. Volar pads starts becoming invisible and the growth of hands overtakes up to 16 weeks. Major development of friction ridges, which are important for a fingerprint examination, occurred between the 11 to 20 weeks. Principle of fingerprints. First, uniqueness. No two person can possess a same fingerprint. That is uniqueness. Permanency. Fingerprints remain same throughout the lifetime of a person. It does not change. Classifiable. We can classify the fingerprints which we receive on the crime scene on the basis of arch, loop, burn and further. Individuality. Every individual possesses a different fingerprints which do not match with the other one. Types of fingerprints. There are three types of fingerprints: latent, patent and plastic. Latent, the invisible ones. For example, the print which we obtain on a glass. The patent fingerprints, the visible ones. For example, fingerprints which were dipped in a blood stain or paint impression. Plastic ones, the prints on soft surfaces. For example, clay, mud, etc. How to record fingerprints? There are two methods of recording a fingerprint. First is plain and the second is rolled fingerprints. Plain, we just hold the bulb of our finger and press on the ink slab and then press the same bulb on the paper. By this we can obtain plain fingerprints. In the rolled fingerprints, we hold the bulb firmly and move left to right on the ink slab and then right to left on the plain paper. By this process we can obtain rolled fingerprints. Equipments used for recording fingerprints. Equipments which are used are ink slabs, ink rollers, glass slabs, inking plate, fingerprint stand, fingerprint card. Ink which are used in fingerprint examination are different from the ink other inks. These are lighter in weight, which do not cause disruptive fingerprints. Collection of fingerprints. There are many methods of collecting fingerprints. First and most versatile is photography. So it do not contaminate and destroy our evidence. That is photography. Then it can cast also. And the third one is tape lifting. Examination of fingerprints. Fingerprints can be examined on three bases. First, on the basis of pattern, arches, loops, burn and further. So if we find two fingerprints and both are arches, then we go to the second examination stage, that is minutiae. We see the minutiae. And if the minutiae and patterns are kind of similar, then we go on the poroscopy. fingerprints pattern: arches, loop, word, then double loop, and then accidental. Arch. In this pattern, ridges enter from one side of the impression, forms a wave, and then flows out from the other side. There are two types of arches: plain arch and tented arch. Then come loops. In loops, pattern entered from one side, it forms a recurve and then flows back from that side from which it enters. There are two types of loop, that is ulnar loop and radial loop. Names of these loops are categorized on the basis of our goals, that is ulna and radius. Word. In this pattern, ridges form a circular or spiral pattern. Two types of whorls are also there: spiral and concentric whorl. Then comes the composite pattern, in which double loop patterns are present, twin and lateral loop, central pocket present, and accidental pattern. In arches there are 0 deltas, and in loops there are 1 delta, and in word there are 2 deltas. Minutia identification in fingerprints. Minutiae are code, islands, dot, bridges, bifurcations, double bifurcation, ridge ending, star, delta, or a spur. Codes are the inner terminus. The middle part of our fingerprints are known as code. If there are 2 codes present in a pattern, we take the code which was away from the delta pattern. Then comes the delta. When a ridge got bifurcated into 2 and it forms a triangle like structure, then the middle spacious part is known as delta. Then comes the bifurcations. When a ridge splits into 2 and moves into the opposite direction, that is known as bifurcation. Ridge ending. When a free flowing ridge suddenly stops, that is ridge ending. Bridge. When a ridge bifurcates, and rejoins to the other ridge, that is bridge. Enclosure. When a ridge bifurcates and rejoins the bridge again, it forms an enclosure like structure, that is known as enclosure. Ridge crossing. When 2 ridges intersect each other, that is ridge crossing. Then comes the Henry's 10-digit classification. Henry classified his classification into 7 digits, 7 divisions, that is primary classification, major classification, secondary classification, sub-secondary first classification, sub-secondary second, final, and key. Primary classification. In primary classification, arches and loops were considered as 0. Only whorls are considered. In this, we give the numbers to right thumb and right index 16, right middle and right ring 8, right little and left thumb 4, right index and right middle 2, right ring and left little 1. On this basis, we pair them as right thumb with right index, right middle with right ring, right little with left thumb, and left index with left middle, left ring with left little. Formula for this is sum of even number upon sum of odd number, and we add 1 in both of them. For example, in this, all are word, but this is loop and this is arch pattern. So loop and arch are excluded as 0. So we put 0 in this formula and we calculate it. Then comes the major classification. In major classification, only thumb is considered. In this, loop and word both patterns are considered. We do ridge counting and ridge tracing. On the count of ridge, on the number of countings, in ridge counting, if it comes from 0 to ridge counting, if it comes 0 to 12, then we consider it as inner loop. 13 to 19 as a mean, 19 and above as a outer. In ridge tracing, if towards the delta and less than 3, more than 3, it is inner. Outside the delta and more than 3, it's an outer. And between the deltas and between less than 3, that is mean. So we classify them as I, M, and O. Then comes the secondary classification. In secondary classification, index fingers are considered only. In this, we categorize the pattern on as capital letters. We gave plain arch as capital A, dented arch as capital P, ulnar as U, radial as R, word as W, twinned as S, lateral as S, central pocket as C, and accidental as X. So the formula arises from there is right index upon left index. Numerator we take from the right index and denominator we take from left index. Subsecondary classification. In subsecondary classification, we take index finger, middle finger and ring finger of both the hands. We consider the loop and whirl pattern only. In loop pattern, wrist counting is done, and in whirl pattern, wrist tracing is done according to this table. We categorize them as I, M and O, inner, mid and outer. If in index finger, the wrist counting comes from 1 to 5, then it is I, 6 to 12, then it is M, 13 or more, then outer, and then in same as in middle, and then in ring. Second sub-secondary classification. In the second sub-secondary classification, middle and ring fingers are only considered. Wrist counting and wrist tracing of whirl and loops are considered. There are two patterns of loops, invaded loops and neutral loops. The wrist passing over the pattern coming from the direct of the data and trying to engulf the loop, that is represented by capital R. In the pattern, the loop is in the appearance of cecal cell bends near the core of the delta represents by small m. Final classification. In final classification, only little finger is considered. For both loop and whirl, we do wrist counting only. In the case of whirl, of right little, we do the wrist counting from left delta to the core, and from left little, we do the wrist counting from right delta to the core. In case of double loop, ascending deltas will be only considered. So the fraction here is right little upon left little. Then comes the key classification. Right thumb upon left thumb. Only thumbs are considered. For loop and whirl, both wrist tracing is for both loop and whirl, wrist tracing is done in the same manner as we done in final classification. Then the development of fingerprints. Fingerprints can be developed by two methods, that is physical method and chemical method. In physical method, we have powder methods. We use regular powder, luminescence powder, metallic powder, thermoplastic powders. Coming to the chemical methods, we have Ninhydrin method. Ninhydrin method is used on the porous surfaces. It is the oldest method we use till date. We cannot directly apply the Ninhydrin solution. We just have to spray it and leave the surface on the room temperature. And after that, after some times, the impression of fingerprints will appear in the purplish color. Then comes the silver nitrate method. In silver nitrate method, silver nitrate solution is sprayed on the latent fingerprints, and then the print is exposed to the UV light or to the sunlight. This technique can only be used for the prints which are 2 years old. Iodine fuming method. Iodine fuming method is used to reveal the prints on porous and semi-porous surfaces. It is inexpensive and easy to use. It is a non-destructive technique. The natural body and oil and sebaceous material of the latent fingerprints temporarily absorb the iodine vapors. This results in a change of color from clear to dark brown until the effect fades with time. The development involves the heating of iodine crystals that directly results in the formation of iodine vapors because of the sublimation process. Reaction results in the formation of yellowish brown color prints. The substrate upon which the latent impression is present is exposed to the iodine vapors. A reaction is occurred. Then comes the cyanoacrylate fuming methods. It is also known as superglue methods. The vapor of cyanoacrylate are selectively attracted to fingerprint residues where it builds up a crystalline white colored stain. It is effective on non-porous surfaces. Relatively, it is cheap. Effective in developing prints which are more durable than the other methods. Cyanoacrylate fuming method is used to develop latent fingerprints. Uses cyanoacrylate esters present in superglue vapors. These fumes can undergo polymerization, which they come into contact with the moisture of latent fingerprints. So that's it.